Good day, everyone. We will be presenting a research study entitled A Proposed Private Non-Sectarian Tertiary School, a study on the effects of classroom design on student self-learning performance. Before we start presenting our study, let me and my partner introduce ourselves. I am Michelle A. Belonio, a student from Architecture 4A.
And I am Herik Sendri Galor, also from Architecture 4A.
For our study's first chapter, this chapter deals with the study's background and purpose. The classroom environment is composed of physical and psychosocial environments which are responsible for students as teachers' interaction and the tangible things inside a classroom, according to Hill and Epps 2010. Beard and Wilson 2013 also stated that students' as learning performance reflects the attainment of the classroom design and of the school's academic program. The elements of classroom design that affect a student's learning environment are acoustics, light, color, furnishings, and air quality. Ali 2009 also stated that students are the most salient in an educational facility for learners, shaped to contribute to nation building. A country's economic and development state relies on its students' academic performance and achievement. Youth 2007 also stated that attainment of deficiency needs enables a student to progress and boost performance, while poor building conditions drive students to perform poorly, according to Earthman 2017. In a nutshell, we, the researchers, chose to conduct this study to recognize the effects of classroom design and acknowledge how it can affect students' learning performance. For our study's setting, our research study will be conducted in the University of Mindanao main campus located in Bolton Street, Davao City. We chose to conduct our study in this university because it is considered the largest private non-sectarian tertiary school in Davao City with a student population of 25,621. Given that the total population size is too large, the study adopted Sobin's formula to attain the specific number of participants. Therefore, based on our computation, the new total number of respondents is 394. Moving on to our study's significance. First, the findings of the study may help school administrators and faculty determine the effects of a classroom's physical environment on students' learning performance. School designers may also gain additional knowledge from this study in planning and designing a classroom's physical environment and the effect of its design elements on students. And lastly, this study may serve as a guide and a ladder to reference information and understanding towards more significant studies to future researchers. For our problem statement, these studies seeks to answer the following questions. First, to what degree do classroom elements of design facilitate or hinder learning? And do classroom elements of design affect students' learning performance? For our goals and objectives, this study aims to investigate and evaluate the impact of classroom elements of design on learning performance in a semester of undergraduate college students of the University of Mindanao, Davao City main campus. Also, this study seeks to understand the influence of classroom design in the learning process. And lastly, the study also strives to determine the classroom's physical components that best benefit the students in maximizing their learning performance and enhancing the learning environment. Moving on to this study's theoretical framework. The theoretical framework portrays the learner in the classroom environment as independent variables, followed by the elements of design as intervening variable. Lastly, student performance is expressed as a dependent variable. In relation, this explains that the elements of design of the physical classroom environment influence the learner. Moreover, the student's learning performance depends on the classroom's elements of design. The learner in the classroom environment discusses the learning theories and learning environment theory to give an understanding of how learning occurs and how it is influenced. The elements of design discuss how acoustics, air quality, color, furnishings, and lighting affect the students' learning performance. And lastly, the student performance is expressed to be measured by the grade point average or GPA of the students. For our studies chapter 2, This chapter discusses the related reviews of literature of the study based on the underlying concepts of the variables presented in the theoretical framework. The literature review from other studies and articles are essential in understanding the study's concepts, meaning, and dimensions. The main three variables discussed in this study's RRL are the learner in the classroom environment, elements of design, and the grade point average. In the learner in the classroom environment, the composure of the classroom environment was discussed and its components, importance in learning, and the process of learning. The learning theories discussed are behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, humanistic, experiential, and social situational learning theory. On the other hand, the theory of the learning environment topic establishes the relationship of the physical and psychosocial environment and its relation or impact on students, particularly in their satisfaction. The topic on the elements of design discussed the different intervening variables on learning such as acoustics, air quality, color, furnishings, and lighting. Lastly, this chapter also explored the effects and influences of elements of design on students' learning performance. Thus, to evaluate this, identifying the students' grade point average was necessary. For this study's affinity diagram, the classroom environment is composed of physical and psychological environmental aspects. For the physical environment, it has two major components, mainly the classroom design and the human components. The classroom design is constituted by elements of design such as acoustics, air quality, color, furnishings, and lighting. As for the human component, this is composed of the students and teachers. The physical design is mainly focused on the tangible things that exist within the classroom environment. On the other hand, the psychosocial environment also has two major components. The first one is the process of learning explained through different learning theories that describe how learning occurs in different ways. Moreover, the psychosocial factors are the effects made by the elements of design which influences human behavior, feeling, thinking, and interaction. The learning environment theory is situated in the middle of the two major components because this theory shows the correlation between physical and psychosocial environment that affects students. The effects of elements of design on students, which are derived from the two major components of the classroom environment that influences student performance, which can be measured through identifying the students' grade point average or GPA.
For the Chapter 3 of our study, this chapter discusses the methodology matrix together with the diagrams for the anticipated results, the different analyses, and lastly, the Gantt chart of our study. For our methodology matrix, here represented the two major components of classroom environment, the methodologies, units, and the expected outputs. The physical and psychosocial environment are the two major components of classroom environment that are responsible for the effects of classroom design on students' learning performance. One cannot stand alone in relating classroom design to students' learning performance. For the physical environment, to measure the degree of the effect of the elements of design on students' learning, a descriptive methodology was used through semantic differential scale. A Likert scale was used to measure students' level of satisfaction with their classroom design. The descriptive method was quantitative in general, thus, the psychosocial factors on students are responsible for how they will evaluate the elements of design in their classroom through a survey questionnaire. For the psychosocial environment, the evaluation of the physical environment, particularly the classroom design, is dependent on students' psychosocial factors. The psychosocial environment or factors are composed of the effects of the physical environment, particularly the classroom's elements of design on students. Therefore, a correlation method was used, specifically Pearson's correlation, in order to connect the psychosocial factors to learning performance. Student learning performance is measured based on students' grade point average. Thus, grade point average and level of satisfaction of classroom design were the two variables correlated. So why did we use the level of satisfaction? Based on Gardner's modified model by Sanville, or the theory that we tested, student satisfaction of classroom design represents all the influences made by the physical and psychosocial environment on a student. The theory expresses the correlation of physical and psychosocial environment. The physical environment contributes to student satisfaction of classroom design through psychosocial environment or factors. Therefore, the level of satisfaction of classroom design was correlated to grade point average. To show an overview of the flow or process of our methodology matrix, here represent the diagram of our research design. As shown, the classroom environment was divided into two, the physical and the psychosocial environment. Under the physical environment are the elements of design which will be evaluated through a semantic differential scale. On the other side, under the psychosocial environment are the psychosocial factors which influence students' level of satisfaction with their classroom design along with the effects made by the elements of design. Level of satisfaction is measured by a Likert scale. Thus, the GPA, which signifies the student's learning performance, and the level of satisfaction of classroom design were correlated through Pearson's correlation. To briefly show the process of measuring the degree of the effect of classroom's elements of design on students, the diagram on the left illustrates that the selected element of design is scrutinized or judged first by the psychosocial factors, which will then influence the respondent's answer on the degree of the effect of the elements of design on how it hinders or facilitates learning. The table on the right shows the table for analysis of the answers. A 7-point semantic differential scale was used in measuring the degree of the effect of classroom's elements of design on learning. Mean average was used to determine and conclude which elements affect learning the most to least on a scale of 7. Figure 9 represents Gardiner's modified model by Sendri, or the theory that we tested and used. It shows the correlation or relation of the physical and psychosocial environment and its potential factors that affect student satisfaction. Thus, the linkage of the factors influences learning outcomes. To briefly show the process of measuring the level of satisfaction of classroom design, Figure 15 illustrates that the classroom design will be scrutinized first by the psychosocial factors which will then influence the respondent's answer on how satisfied they are in their classroom design. Table 3 shows the Likert scale, which will be used to measure and interpret students' level of satisfaction with their classroom design. To discuss the relationship of the physical and psychosocial environment on GPA, as well as the correlation process of students' level of satisfaction of classroom design and their GPA, allow us to present Figure 16, 17, and Table 6. Figure 16 shows that the classroom design is under the physical environment, and its effect on students' learning performance or GPA is through the psychosocial factors or environment. Figure 17 shows the correlation process of students' level of satisfaction of classroom design and their corresponding GPA. Table 6 shows the percent and the letter grade equivalent to the grade point average and how it was paired or balanced with the level of satisfaction through the Likert scale's numerical and verbal interpretation. Thus, it will be the basis for the correlation process. To concisely show how correlation result of classroom design and grade point average was derived, Table 7 illustrates that grade point average and level of satisfaction were the two variables being correlated. The answers of the respondents on their level of satisfaction and GPA were carefully paired with each other as shown in the format of the table. The Pearson's correlation formula was then applied to the answers of the respondents, which paved way to determine the type of correlation. -1 refers to weak or negative correlation, and +1 refers to a strong or positive correlation. The connection of the effects of classroom design on students' learning performance depends on the type of correlation result. For our Gantt chart, first we submitted our pairing way back in the 3rd week of July. After that, in the same week we had consultations for our proposed titles up to the 3rd week of August, and in the 4th week of the same month, we finally had an approved title. As we composed and consulted our title, we also gathered data through researching and reading from reliable sources. As we got our proposed title approved, we started writing our manuscript from the 4th week of August up to the 2nd week of October. We finalized our manuscript from the 1st week of October up to the 3rd week. As we finalized everything, then we submitted our manuscript in the 3rd week of October, and the recording and presentation was done in the 4th week of the same month. And that ends our presentation. Thank you.